All right. Good morning, everybody, Dreammakers Powerhouse team. Welcome to, get this, Agent Training Manual. We have changed the name from RIP to ATM. Same great teachings, just different name. And so, guys, this morning I've got Miss Brittney Payton. That's going to be with me this morning. And what we're going to do is we're going to break down a 20K month. So the standard and the goal is to hit your 10K club, right? But as we progress, as we get down to the nitty gritty, it's great to see what it looks like doing a 20K month. Okay. And what I love is that there's really not a lot. There's actually, it's not any more work to be done. It's just doing things efficiently, doing things effectively, and getting really, really good at your craft. And so basically what we want to do today is break down Miss Brittney's month as far as all of the things that you need to be tracking. How we talk about all the time, if you don't track it, how can you measure it, right? Breaking down like everything from the hours she's worked to the close ratio to what were referrals, what were all of the things, what her biggest sales were last week, where she was able to capitalize. That way you can see into the minds of a 20K clubber and how they make that happen consistently. Okay. So Brittney, do I have you on? Do I see you? Do I got you? I see that beautiful face.
I see you.
Hey girl. Okay. So
Hey,
I wanted to kind of break this down because I love numbers. I didn't always love numbers, but you really have to love numbers, understand the numbers, the way you can actually do more. Okay. And so I did want to break down her month here. Okay. So follow me. So I have it in a little sheet right here. Numbers for the month, numbers for the week, numbers for the day. And these are averages, what she did over the course of a 4-week period of June. Her total AP was $25,580 of premium. Raise your hand in the chat if you would love to do 25,000 AP. Like seriously, like consistently, because if one person can do it, anybody can do it. And let's break this down. So hours for the month. She did 116 hours for the month. Break that down. Guess what, guys? That's 30 hours a week. She straight up worked 30 hours a week. Now, let me ask you, would you want to do 25,000 in 30 hours a week? Raise your hand. Because again, if one person can do it, why can't you? Now it's about a 6-hour day, 6 hours of intentional work time in a day. I don't know about you, but I've always been motivated by doing more in less time. And that's the beautiful thing that we have in this business. But the longer we take to actually put these things in place, the more we're working and the less time we have for our families. Okay. So let's look at presentation count. So she did 29 hours working 5 days a week, averaging 6 hours a day. Presentation count, she did 35 presentations. On average, that was 8.75 presentations. Okay. So to be honest, a little bit below the 10K or the 10 presentation motto, but let's look at close ratio at 62%. Close ratio at 62%. Okay. So she did 22 closes, which averaged 5.5 closes a week. Okay. Which is 1 app a day. What's the goal? An app a day does what? Keeps the bill collector away. That's always been my motto. So anytime that you go out in the field, it's that little bit of extra when it comes to your mentality, not necessarily your hours. Can I do 1 app a day? Can I do that? Okay. Applications. She did 29 applications, which averaged 7.5 apps. So even though she closed a little over 5 closes, 5 houses, she capitalized. And on average, she did a little over 1 presentation or 1 application per close. So between 1 and 2. Okay. Let's take a look at approaches. And what's really good here, guys, is even though the hours are lower, which I like that, her approaches were spot on. Her approaches were spot on. Okay. So also when you take a look at the numbers, if her approaches were spot on, she had a good approach to presentation ratio, but she didn't skimp on her approaches. So we'll always talk about making sure that you have your 10 presentation minimum, but to get those 10 presentations, guess what you got to do? You have to have the approaches and you have to have the leads, right? And so when we take a look here, what I love is that we have the door approach and phone approach. So it's broken down into 2 different approaches. So door approaches, she had 131 for the month, which averaged 32 and some change for the week. Okay. which is averaging 6.5 approaches at the door every single day. So in a 6-hour period, she averaged 6.5 at the door. But get this, she didn't stop there. What did she do? What did she do to keep herself more efficient, which 90% of us are skimping on? If we're being brutally honest, you're not doing the phone. You're not doing it. What does she do? 106 for the month of phone approaches, 26 for the week. So averaging 5 phone approaches a day. 5. So on total, she's over the standard of approaches. Okay. At 11, almost 12 approaches for the day in 30 hours, right? Talk about efficiency. This is number one, guys, is it's literally making sure that you're not skimping on this to hit that. Now let's take a look. Like I said, we've got the close ratio, 62%. What is she doing here? She's raising the bar. She's exhibit A, because what have we been talking about since the beginning of the year? Raise the bar, raise the bar, raise the bar. And I want you to see the numbers that when you raise the bar, it starts here. It doesn't mean more hours in the field, right? By the way, Brittney, your hair looks really good and I like the color. Close ratio, 62%, 25,580 of gross AP. Get this, guys, 30% of her sales were what? Not from leads. Not from leads, 30%. She had 6 sales from running the T, which means that when she goes to the lead, this is why she's not having to work 8 or 10 hours, because when she goes to the lead, guess what she does? She hits the house on the side, the other side, front, and behind. Okay? Running the T, every single house. Talk about efficiency. Talk about making more happen in your time. So, and then referrals. What is step 10 of the presentation? Referrals, right? Referrals. She had 5 referrals. So for every house that she went to, she asked for referrals. And for the month, that's 5. So can you imagine if you didn't run the T and you didn't ask for referrals, she would have lost 30% of her sales. 30%. Do the math on that if you want to. I didn't do the math on that one. I probably should have. But all you got to do is 25,000 times 30%. Get that to fall off. Someone put it in the chat. Tell us what her sales would have been if she would have hit 20K club, if she would have skimped on 2 things that we teach. Oh, no one's home today. Oh gosh, I have no AP. This sucks. Okay. Are you really doing these things that we're teaching, or do you have a bad attitude about it? Do you have a bad attitude about phone approach? Do you have a bad attitude about the asking for referrals, or you don't know how to do it, or not hitting the neighbors because people are home? You can find the horseshoes. Is that what it is? Or seahorses? Sorry, not a horseshoe. Seahorses, the I love Jesus signs. Looking for those things. Those are your markers for people that are home with doors open and Oldsmobiles. Okay. So I just wanted to break down those numbers so you could see just the activity, the close ratio. But let's talk about how do you get that close ratio of 62%? So we teach to go for that 50% close ratio. She went a little bit further. She's going to break down in a minute the things that help her do that. She's got 2 stories of sales that, you know, are huge that most people probably would have missed that you need to be looking for. Okay. But before we kind of go into that, she's got 10 points that have helped her, that she does not skimp on, that helps her raise the bar from 10 to 20K. So come off of mute, Miss BP, and let's go through these and just why they're important to you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm excellent. I'm on coffee cup number 2.
I'm on coffee cup number 1. So you just want me to roll into it?
Yeah, just roll into, you know, why it's important. Like you call your shot every single morning. That's something that we teach, we preach. Yep. I do. Calling your shot because of why? And what does that do for you?
Yeah, first of all, I want to say I was really bad at numbers too. I hated them. And Kaylin, if you've never like got to know Kaylin would like harass you with numbers and ratios and stuff, and it made it where like you understood why she did it. So I really do feel like the numbers are extremely important, and that kind of flows into like calling your shot. So when I call my shot, if my kid's sick or if I have to come out of the field, like Ryan Britton is my direct coach for people who don't know, and I will text him like, hey, I gotta go out the field, or hey, I'm picking up Ariana and I'm going back into the field. Like, I'm going to do whatever it takes to call my shot. And sometimes, like a lot of people I see are like, oh, I'm too sick, or I have a headache. Or if you're a woman, I'm going to call it out. I'm PMSing, I'm cramping. Okay, well, that's great. You're going to do it again next month. So you have to like find a way to work through it. I'm not saying go out when you're like dead, but like there's excuses and then there's like reasons to get around those. So you have to have goals that are bigger than your excuses. So when I call my shot, I do everything I can to stay accountable to that, because I'm not just working for myself. I'm working for my family. I'm working for my team. I'm working for my upline, the people who have poured money, time, and energy into me as well. And if anybody knows, anytime I talk, I always talk about, my family and my upline, because without our uplines, we wouldn't be here. And without our family, we wouldn't have support. So you kind of have to stay accountable for yourself, your actions, your team, everything.
I think that's just big. It's something as small as just calling your shot in your chat, in the Dream Makers chat, in the Powerhouse chat, just because it gives you something to run for that day, and you have eyes that are going to help you. Like, hey, this is what I said I was going to do. It starts there, something small that you can do, just to breathe that accountability. And it's starting with you, not your direct coach forcing accountability. It's you starting that
Yeah.
conversation on accountability. All right, next one, number 2.
So we were at conference in Wilmington, and Andrew Everhart had a crazy awesome class, and he really nailed into us. We're always told to buy leads, but I still have that voice recording if anybody wants it. It was so good. And I felt like he was really, when he talks, just like our other partners, it comes to you. Like, you really need to soak it in. And so he was talking about how people on his team like are prone to buying 30 to 40 new to you leads. Now, new to you leads don't mean that you have to go spend buku loads of money and buy all platinums. I don't. When I got started in this business, I spent the least amount of money as possible. And I was able to make 30,000 in my first 3 months here. And I still am that way. Like, I'll buy platinums, but they're fillers. I buy gold, silver, bronze. I've bought data leads before. I buy the integrity $1.50 leads all the way up to the $4 or whatever leads. But you got to mix them in. You've got to have a starting week of 30 to 40 new to you. Heck, I've even made my own leads off Newber. You can get a blank lead, make your own darn leads. You should not have an excuse not to have 30 to 40 new leads. I mean, period. You can make your own leads for free. Take 2 hours if you want to be very distinct about it and just make your own leads, because a lead is just a legitimate excuse to approach a door. So if you're not willing to do the T because you're too nervous, then make a lead for that. I mean, Caitlin and I, the last time I was in North Carolina, we passed a house and I was like, oh, that's a good house. So I turned the car around really quick and we pulled over, Newbered it, and made a lead out of it. You can do that. You just have to be able to want to do that.
I think that's big. And the goal here too is like, I mean, you can buy leads throughout the week, but you want to make sure that you're setting your week up weekly with those fresh new leads for you. So don't go into the next week with old leads from the previous. Those are going to be additional that you can go and you can see, but making sure that you put 40 new opportunities in your face, 40 new every single week, like clockwork. That way you're not rehashing old opportunities that may or may not be all the opportunity that you need or want. So you have to make sure that you're doing that weekly, mix in old and new to give yourself the best ratio. Number 3 is doing the T. Like we said.
Yeah, I wish I would have put 3 and 7 behind each other, but last night I was typing really fast because they kind of go in with the leads. They do go in with the leads. The T, if you're a new agent especially, you should be doing the lead. And this is just my personal recommendation. You can ask my team. I am very big on it because it's free leads, especially as a new agent, or if you're in a sales slump, you're putting yourself there by not utilizing the T. The T is, again, just another way to have a brand new lead, but it's free. So you work left to right and straight across. And I tell everybody, that I talk to and that ask me about my numbers and stuff is if you're in a good area, like if you're in a trailer park area. We have a lot of them in Texas. Well, there's a lot of them in Florida too. As long as there's not a no trespassing sign in the beginning of the building, you can do left to right and straight across. But even at a residential area, do left to right straight across. Don't be scared of it. If anything, it's more practice to perfect your craft. So
Yeah.
I am very big on the T. And Jesus signs, ramps, seahorses. North Carolina people toward the water. Seahorses are amazing there. Florida, they're amazing here. But Jesus signs, seahorses, ramps, old cars, bunch of little tiny weird figurines that gross you out. All those are money makers.
Pause 1 second. I just had a comment came into the chat of your approach. Just rapid fire, give your approach at the door.
Yeah, I use my hands with everything. So knock, knock, knock. Hey, so sorry to catch you off guard. My name's Brittney. I'm the state license benefit coordinator dispatched this area. I was just here to go over the state benefit updates. It takes about 10 to 15 minutes. I'm going to go cut off my car and I'll be right back. I hand them my business card and go cut off my car and I come right back.
Just like we've been teaching for the longest time is like when you're running the team to keep efficient. If you don't want to look up who they are, if you don't want to Uber, I don't do that. I just go to the door. I do exactly what you do. That's my exact approach. I don't say their name. I just assume that I'm supposed to be there. And just like she said, because it's about how you deliver it as well. And so the main thing is just doing it, making sure that you're doing it and your practice. And the only way that you get practice is by doing it. So good stuff. Let me see here. Go on to the next one.
I'm going to jump to 7 really quick because it's about leads. So 7 is the calls. I like making calls because I have 2 kids. My daughter's in summer school right now. She gets off the bus at 3. So y'all, literally, I'm going an hour away to work every morning, and then I'm coming back and get my daughter, and I'm going right back out because I don't have to get my son until 6. So calls are really important for me, or if my kids are sick or something like that. And you'll see a lot of people who have kids or have been here for a while put in the chat sometimes, at least in our powerhouse chat, that they're going to be making calls and setting appointments. I like to do that, but I also like to try to take my calls and turn them into presentations and try to go ahead and get them through the process. And the way that I start out by that is at the end of every single day, and I do not skimp on this. This is something I'm very passionate about. If I have 30 leads for that day and I only see 10 of them, I'm calling the other 20. Or if I have 10 leads for that day and I only get to see 5, I'm calling the other 5. If they don't answer me, I shoot them a text message. Hey, it's Brittney giving you a call back. Get back to me as soon as you can. Like, I don't try to make it anything where I'm spilling too much out of my mouth because, God gave you 1 mouth and 2 ears for a reason. But I'm also putting another form of a touch on them because in the psychology of a sale, there's 3 points to the psychology of a sale. And so you have to touch that person 3 times if you don't get them. And they say that after you do that, if you touch them 3 times, you're more likely to close them. Even if it means like you did a door approach, even people I do door approaches with, I'll send them a text. So thankful for meeting you today. I'll follow up with you soon. Have a great evening, Brittney. And that's really helped me out a lot, turn my ratio around, especially because in this area around the holidays, you're going to not be able to connect with people as much. So I think phone calls are really important too. At the end of every day, call the people you can't get in touch with. But the 10 steps was technically number 4. And I don't even like to count a presentation personally if I don't do the 10 steps. Like if I'm not doing steps 1 through 10 and I stop at 8, to me, that's not doing a presentation. So I personally, on my tracker, I don't count it if I don't do all 10 steps. There's a reason the 10 steps were put in place. There's a reason why it's worked. There's a reason why, Laura, you're where you're at. Ashley's where she's at, so on and so forth. Even Andrew Everhart with his foul mouth, there's a reason that these people have done as well as they have, and there's a reason they are where they're at. So if you are not doing the 10 steps, you're really, really cutting yourself out. And like I said, I don't even count it. If I don't get all the way to the referrals, post, close, and brand, I don't count it for a presentation.
Seriously, good stuff. Rapid fire. Let's go through the next one so we can kind of get to a story or two. I like this next one, which number 5, do a second in and up if needed. Always, guys. Seriously, like sometimes you need that reinforcement twice. Sometimes you get something that you get an objection or you get a decline for whatever reason. Don't leave the house. Don't, tuck your tail between your legs and think that you know it all. Call back and see. It's called persistence. Persistence pays off in this business. Okay. So call for a second in and up. Anything you want to add to that?
No, I will say that helped me out tremendously when I was brand new because I would always get a banking objection and I would directly ask Ryan to get on the phone for a second in and up to get me over a banking objection. Like the second in and up is always important. You shouldn't leave a house unless they're kicking your butt out the door. And then that it's just really important. And don't be scared of a no. A no is a not right now. Like I feel like a lot of people shut down no's. No's means not right now. Don't just now if they're really nasty people, then yeah, you can mark them off, do whatever you want to. But a no is a not right now. That's my personal opinion. And excuses are like buttholes. We all have one, but we don't need to make time for it. Everybody who knows me knows that I'm a jokester, but they really are. All of us have buttholes, but y'all need to get better at excuses. I need to get better at excuses. There's times that Ryan will call me out on it. And don't be afraid of your coach calling you out on your excuses. I feel like that's a really big thing about having high numbers too, is if you have an excuse and you have a good relationship with your coach, which you should have, don't get mad at them for calling you out on it because you signed on the dotted line when you started this business to be successful. And then ask for coaching. Make sure that if you feel like, especially like halftime, if I feel like I'm in a slump or something, even though I get the same answer now that I am almost 3 years in, ask your coach for, hey, where am I missing? What ball am I dropping? And then just make sure your preparation is good. I keep a lot of stuff. I leave a lot of material behind because I like to really post, close, and brand myself, as well as our company. My theory is I'm going to brand the company we put them with. I'm going to brand North American Senior Benefits, and then I'm going to solidify it with myself. And I tell people if I put my name on it, I mean it. That's the last thing I tell everybody when I make a sale. And so just make sure that you have prepped your leads, your Road Warrior or your Knock It app. I love that one personally now. And then make sure that all your call aheads are good.
So what I love too is asking for coaching. When was the last time, like ask yourself, when was the last time that you asked your coach for coaching versus your coach asking you, hey, how are you doing? Anything I can do to help you? When was the last time that you said, hey, I could use a coaching? Hey, how would you? And not, I'm talking about like even just like a 5 minute where it is intentional of coaching, not even just asking a question, but an intentional coaching. Hey, do you have 5 or 10 minutes that we could get on the phone and do a coaching? I just need that, right? I think that is huge. That's something that you've always done is like, if you needed it, you asked for it. And I think that we forget sometimes, especially if we've been here for a while, is to ask for that coaching, even if we feel like we're going to hear the same thing, or even if we do, it's the habit and the routine of communication and coaching, but you got to ask for it too. Okay. That's a huge difference maker for top performers.
I feel like too, though, a lot of people when it comes to coaching, like Kaylin can tell me something 5 times, but Ryan says it in a different manner, the same thing, and I hear it. So I feel like that's why coaching threads are so important too. It's not always necessary to reach out individually as it is to reach out to the whole entire team, because there's a reason we have a support team and there's a reason why we have those threads. If they didn't need to be utilized and they weren't there for our own growth, then we wouldn't have them.
Love it. So those are top 10. Now, real quick, biggest strength you harness to close more sales.
Biggest strength. Dependability. I always let my clients know that I'm there for them and that I'm there for their families, because if they can't depend on me with their life and their money and their assets or whatever it may be, whether it's a life insurance policy or an annuity, I feel like dependability and my time management has definitely gotten better, because you can't spend 4 hours in a house unless you're like doing 8 or 10 policies or whatever, or on time, which are on hold with Transamerica. So dependability would definitely be the biggest strength in time management. I've gotten a lot better at that.
Are you dependable? I think that, like, when you said that, dependable, Are you dependable with your clients? Are you dependable? Can your coaches depend on you to like do the right thing and to actually go and do what you were supposed to be doing, which is closing sales and helping seniors? Are you dependable? I think that is a huge strength. Now, what about a weakness that you identify and you had to make a corrective change to literally be a top performer doing 20K months?
I had to let the clients, I don't know how to put it, like excuses. I used to come up with an excuse for myself, my actions, my clients, why they couldn't do it now, why their objective was their true objective. And I think excuses was the biggest weakness that I had when I started. And I have gotten a lot better about it, but it was really hard to bite that pill that I wasn't right all the time.
How many of you are making reasons why they didn't buy from you? Oh, well, it's not the fact that I didn't create urgency, or it's not the fact that I didn't call for my in and up. It's just that that client sucks. That person's dumb. They didn't get it, right? Seriously, how many times do we make excuses for ourselves in the sales process and make excuses for our clients as to why they didn't buy from us? I think that is a really, really good question to ask yourself, is identifying that, are you giving excuses to the clients as to why they didn't buy from you every time, instead of, hey, at the end of the presentation, take a minute or two. Why didn't they buy from me? What could I have done better? Where could I have, because if you don't do that and your mindset is just like, and you're too fast to go to the next one all the time, you'll never learn from your mistake. And the only way that you learn and grow and to develop to a 20K person, raising the bar, is by taking the minute to self-reflect and not passing blame. But as humans, it is so easy to pass the buck. Where's the easiest place for me to pass the buck? And until you stop doing that, you'll never go to the next level of what you can accomplish, right? So good stuff. Is there a story? We've got 2-3 minutes left. Is there a story or a sale that was the hardest to close this month that most people would probably miss? And how did you solidify it?
Yeah, actually, it's probably, and I was like sweating. You have a good sale if you're like internally your body temperature is raising. You're like, oh crap, at any point they can kick me out. And so, out of the two stories I gave you, I want to give the one about my really big sale. So, I had my new agent, Katie. Unfortunately, she's sick, but she was with me, and it was an integrity $4 lead. And that means it's just processed through the time zone a little bit. And so we went and approached it. It was at this really big horse farm. There was a gate. We had to buzz in. I mean, there's just a lot. And a lot of people would have probably turned away. But being Brittney, I was like, I can't show her that I'm going to turn away from this. So what do? I buzz it. They let us in. They think that we're there to ride horses, which I wish we could have. But we go and we're looking around. There's all these people walking around. And so finally I find the lady. It was under a man's name for the actual lead itself. And I found her, and she's like, oh, I don't have time for it right now. I was like, great. You know what? Like, I was scrolling through my tablet. I have a really busy day today too. This is what I'm going to do. And I feel like when I took the charge on that and I said, this is what I'm going to do, she was just like, oh crap. Okay, well, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And so I said, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go see these people first because you're a little tied up right now. And I looked around, I was like, as I can see, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to be back at 5 o'clock. Katie and I are going to sit down with you and we're going to go over the information you requested. I gave her my card. I got her number, verified everything, and I got the gate code so that I wouldn't have to buzz in. I could just come in. Well, we did. We went and ran, hit a couple potholes along the way. But we got back and I said, Katie, just watch and let me see how you do that. We got every objective in the book in the beginning. We got a denial for Mutual of Omaha. Well, I can just save my, they could afford it, y'all. They did not have to have a life insurance policy. I had to build value on the benefits that they got. I had to build value on the company, the tax-free, the legacy. I had to build value. What if all of this is gone tomorrow with the cost of inflation? I had to be not scared of getting in their business without being disrespectful about being in their business. So while we're sitting with these flies flying all around us, horses walking around in the middle of the stable, it took us 4 hours. I had to make sure, and this is why I think this story is so important, because I do have 2 kids and my husband is traveling. I had to call random people to go and get my kids from school and from daycare, because in that moment, yes, they are my priority, and I made sure that they were safe, but that client was my priority, and I needed to make sure that was taken care of. That agent was my priority, and I needed to make sure she learned. So not only did I help that client, we ended up writing a $600 something Americo, 633 something Americo, got him day one coverage, got him in the process of all this, we got 5 referrals from that sale from the people walking up that also own horses there. And we just I had to leave them so much marketing stuff to make sure that that's a big sale. If they call, I'm gonna hang up the phone and I'm gonna answer. But just to solidify and to really break down their needs, their wants, the objective of everything, and really tell them like, hey, I'm here for you. You're not necessarily here for me, but it is a nice little additive the next day, if you know what I mean. But that was probably my favorite sell from last month.
Have coverage in place already or no?
They did have coverage in place, but it was terminating. And so they were really worried about like that. To extend it was going to be like 2 times the amount of what they were paying. So you had to break that barrier of like, okay, let's get down to business. That's not going to work the way you think it's going to work. And we couldn't do a carrier call because it was after 5 o'clock. So I had to like let them drive down on the side by side and get the policy and come back and really like show them this fine print. It's okay to point out the fine print. If you can't get a carrier on the phone, you've got to be able to be okay with pointing out that fine print, because you are the person that's in charge in that house.
Guys, are you willing to go the distance to solidify a $600 sale when everything around you is telling you to quit, to stop, everything like from don't do it right now, got to come back after 5, being in a horse stable, it's 4 hours, you're showing a new agent, you're sweating your tail off, you're having to deal with a term policy without doing a carrier review, but you know that through your determination of knowing, hey, this is how the term works, just your conviction. How many of you guys are that determined and are also that dependable, right? That's the secret sauce. If you're doing 5K a month, goal is to go to 10K. Where can you put in some of these things that we're talking about today? Then to go from 10K to 20K, it's going to be things like this. It's when you have these situations, how do you respond? And are you doing it continuously, day in, day out, learning your skill, your craft? Seriously, this is a craft. Treat it as such. It is 9:34. That was great stuff. Just rapid fire. Again, she had accountability to the agent in the car. She had to take charge. This is what we're going to do. She had a denial. She had an objection of, I should just save the money. She had to create the value, not be scared to get into their business, working in a stable 4 hours long, learning to solve problems, needing someone to come pick up her kids, solving the problems with making sure that she stayed eye connected to the people in front of her, still got referrals, which is going to solidify your sale, making sure that she had the marketing material to leave behind, figuring out what they needed and then their wants, and realizing the term, it was going to go to 2 times the amount. And so you're comparing the 2 times amount by having, if you can't do the carrier call, making them dig for that policy, seeing it on paper. Hello, there you go. Seeing the visual. And that's how you solidified that sale, through your determination and your dependability. That's what it takes to be a 20K writer. Guys, have a great Tuesday, and let's make some big sales and help some families. Y'all have a great day. Ciao.